On this episode of the Rebel Health Tribe podcast, available at rebelhealthtribe.com, we welcome Dr. Jared Seigler from the Living Proof Institute.
It's funny, people will blame food all day long, but, I have this one lady, the only time, because we allow patients to communicate with us between visits, we want to provide that support. That's what we found actually helps people the most, is supporting somebody through this process, not just here, take this and I'll see you in 3 months or whatever. But she would only correspond with me about finances. It was always about numbers on a screen, and finally I just told her, I'm not worried about the numbers on the screen. I'm worried about the effect that your relationship with money and the power it has over you. So when I hear a woman say something like, oh, I have to go ask my husband, it's not a money issue, it's a control issue. And that negativity is just going to wreck everything, because I say, who cares if you're eating kale salad and taking all the right supplements? You hate your job and you hate your spouse and you hate your life. All just get sick, yeah.
That's coming up.
The Rebel Health Tribe Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Rebel Health Tribe Podcast. I'm Joe Rignola with Michael Roseline, 3,000 miles away. It's weird. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, man. Just got back late last night from there. And dude, I never saw your little studio.
Yeah, I know. That's weird. Well, this is the studio. What you're seeing it. That is basically an unfinished basement. So I never turned the camera around. So you didn't really miss anything. You're seeing it. But yeah, it's weird. It took Mike and I a half a day to get used to there not being a computer screen between us. And now I think it's hard to get used to there actually being a computer screen in between us. But it's all good. It's all good. You're like a zombie. You got home at like midnight, right?
Yeah, but we're good. This is going to be fun.
All right, it's going to be good. So today we're joined by Jared Seigler from the Living Proof Institute or becomeproof.com. Welcome, Jared. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. I got excited when I found out that Sachin had a whole stable of awesome people that we could come on podcasts and webinars and interviews. Our audience is pretty familiar with him, but I'm excited for them to learn more about the rest of you guys and all the awesome things that are going on over there. So thanks for coming on.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, he's the CEO of the company, so that's kind of the DNA that drives everything. So, but yeah, I like to be the clinical nerd more than anything.
That's fine. Well, we're gonna pick your brain a little bit today and figure out what, learn about you and what you do. So no agenda. We're just gonna try to get to learn a little bit more about you. So for folks who don't know, maybe aren't familiar with Sachin and Living Proof Institute, and what you do there, just give people a little background about what you do and why you do it.
So we started the Living Proof Institute a long time ago, and the way it was first going to start out with Sachin do functional medicine, I would do traditional chiropractic. I spent over a decade of my life, personal trainer, strength coach. I knew I was going to work with athletes. Right after we graduate, I learned about functional medicine, and my wife was my first patient. We were told we would never have a daughter after about the 5th OB, and, I didn't accept that. So we fixed her gut, and she started to have a cycle, first one in 3.5 years, and a few months later, we were pregnant. So now I have a beautiful little girl that, according to doctors, was never going to happen. So
that's awesome. Congratulations. How old is she?
3.5. So,
nice.
Yeah, we play tag every morning, so that's my morning fasting cardio as we're chasing her around the house.
I've got a 4.5-year-old and a 3-month-old, so I know how you feel for sure. It's awesome.
Did you take that child in to see those doctors often to show them that she exists?
Yeah.
Louis. So,
they may still not believe it.
Yeah, and that's why that's part of the reason why we named the company Living Proof, is we believe that our body is living proof that that's what's going to heal people. The supplements didn't heal my wife, her body did it. We just had to coax it in the right direction.
So you were already a chiropractor for a number of years when that's what got you into chiropractic.
Yeah, so I don't want to say I wasted a decade of my life, but then the shift totally changed, to more metabolic type stuff that we see in functional medicine.
Right. What did you do before that?
Strength coach. I was in the military, so a lot of odds and ends just trying to get through school until that was able to bear fruition. Yeah, so then I got my chiropractic in 2011 from Logan in St. Louis. And then from there, it's just been a lot of post-ed. The amount of CEUs I have, probably about over 1,000 hours in the past few years.
Wow.
So I try to
So
spend.
you don't like to learn at all, is what you're saying. You just don't like to learn. You just, yeah.
Yeah, I hate tracking. But it's funny
You
because
hate taking classes and listening to lectures.
Yeah.
well, it's funny 'cause, like, I hated microbiology, you know, and with Quran, like, it seems like with functional medicine, if you want to know about the brain and the immune system, you have to know about microbial activity. So it's clinically the stuff that I hated in school is what I kind of have to learn about and talk about. Like, I talk about poop all day long, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I didn't bode very well in my microbiology class in grad school, and I hated it also. And now when we have Quran, it's fun. So I actually enjoy it, and I'm fascinated by it. But my teacher, whatever your name was at University of South Florida, if you're watching this, but my teacher did not explain things quite as well or in such a fun way or easy to understand way as Quran does.
Right.
So it was more like the Charlie Brown teacher, wah, 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 and I just wanted to not be there. So I hear you, but it's ironic because I mean, my bachelor's degree is in history. So I didn't think I'd be doing this for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how that works.
You where did you grow up? Did you grow up in that St. Louis area, or?
No, I was originally from Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to St. Louis. I went to OU. So when I say OU here, I have to say Oklahoma University because everybody thinks Ohio.
Yeah, I would have thought that.
Yeah, so grew up there, went to school in St. Louis, and then moved to Cincinnati to work with Sachin. So, you know, I met and shadowed him a little bit when I was in school. And, you know, like everything in life, what we were going to do didn't work out. So then just started the Living Proof Institute after that because at that point he was working for another company.
So it really
Cincinnati
did work
Chili
out.
Mac probably not on the recommended foods list of the Living Proof Institute, huh?
Yeah.
I was really excited to try it, and then not very enthusiastically. It wasn't that great, but maybe I went to the wrong place. That's the food in Cincinnati, Joe. If you've never been there, it's Chili Mac. Chili Mac.
Chili Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never actually eaten at the Gold Star. That's like the thing here, and I just don't eat that kind of food, so I don't even know, you know?
I think that's what I had. It was in like 2002, maybe. I think that's what I had. Is that the chain that's like all over the place?
Yeah, there's another one, and then Skyline. That's
Skyline. That's
Yeah.
what I ate. It's sloppy. Yeah. Anywho, I don't need to waste any more time on it.
Not recommended.
I always would travel and then try the food in the place that was the food where I went, and that was not one of the ones I was more excited about.
Well, if you go to St. Louis, it's toasted rab, so then you're just going to get a whole lot of gluten. So.
Oh, we're not going to do that. So I want to understand the timeline a little bit because it's a pretty interesting story. What branch of the military were you in?
National Guard, so they paid for my undergrad. Thank God I didn't actually go overseas or anything.
Yeah,
So
that was my next question. So
that's
that's
a
good.
whole other conversation.
Yep.
Illegal wars.
Yeah, well, it's the podcast. We could talk about anything we want to if you want to go down that road.
I mean, it was, and that's part of my own health history. Like, I didn't have vitiligo until I went through basic training, and there you're kind of a pincushion like the kids these days. The first week I got 8 shots, and the second week you got 9.
How many shots?
8. Still don't really know what all of them were. And then after we got mobilized to go to Iraq and stuff like that, we got the smallpox vaccine. We were given what's the one? The powder everyone was worried about.
Anthrax.
Yeah, so we got vaccinated for that. Felt like your arm was going to fall off for about half a year.
What?
Yeah, so it's unfortunate though.
You were almost gonna get deployed then?
Come again?
You were almost gonna get deployed. You were.
We were 2 days out. All the buses and everything, trains were loaded up, and then they said the get it off the tracks. You're staying here. So then they did that. But after I got out of the military, my unit's been 5 times.
Oh wow!
Good deal for you.
Yeah, how long ago was this, and how old were you?
I joined at 19, and I got out at 25.
Okay.
So, and yeah, about 2 months, they have a thing called involuntary extension, where if you're going to get deployed, you just have to stay in longer than what you originally signed. I missed that by like 2 months, thank God. They were trying to get me back in. Like, I'm going to chiropractic school. I don't want to go to the
Involuntary extension.
Involuntary. You basically were drafted. You were almost like an internal draft.
I just read last week about the report that came out about the anti-malaria drug they made all the military people take is causing like permanent, irreversible damage. I don't remember if it was cancer. I could find it. You guys can talk. But I saw this article and military drug
PTSD
damage. Oh, so PTSD, it causes brain damage. Malaria drug causes permanent brain damage.
Yeah.
That's what all the headlines say. U.S.
My uncle went the first time overseas, and then that's when they were giving them the actual sarin gas pills, and they would make you swallow like small amounts of the sarin gas. And
wow.
Oh yeah, guys are getting jacked up over there. I mean, the Asia syndrome, you know, the autoimmunity after immune adjuvants, that was from Gulf War syndrome from that.
Right. And vitiligo, you got the vitiligo. Is that autoimmune? That's kind of autoimmune.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I got autoimmunity to my cerebellum too.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was born with thrush, you know, and then looking back, you can kind of find it. You know, I had the chemical sensitivities. My mom would put on hand lotion in the car. I'd get the headaches. I'd get the nauseousness and the motion sickness, all cerebellar stuff. You know, and then I had like 4 years of my life had acid reflux, just basically trying to wake up every morning, throwing up bile. So they just give me next. So yeah, after I fixed my wife and we have a kid, I find out like I have H. pylori. I still have candida, even though I spent the first 4 months of my life on a liquid nystatin. And you know, lo and behold, candida has molecular mimicry to vitiligo and cerebellar antibodies. So here we are, you know.
Wow. And so all these years later, you learn all this stuff, and so the first thing you did was fix your wife. You got your wife on you know, her cycle back, and what did you do to help her recover? Like that was before you went to chiropractic, right? Yeah,
well, at first we couldn't understand. She was like classic SIBO, losing a lot of weight, you know, had that distension and everything, and just kind of
Did you know that at the time that was SIBO?
No,
or was it hindsight?
No, this was back when we were still in school, when I was still in school, like back in 2010. So I didn't really know what was going on. You know, a lot of the joint pain, fogginess, anxiety, you know, a lot of the things we see with these SIBO patients. And then fast forward a few years, we meet Sachin, and he's like, you know, you should really look into this functional medicine. So we run a stool test. She has parasites. We know that she's got digestive issues. We ran it back when there was the 2100 from Metametrics, which was like the gold standard of stool testing back then. And fixed that up. You know, she had H. pylori too. And as you know, that can be orally transacted, so I probably ended up giving her that, you know. Yeah, so then after we killed all those little critters and she started gaining weight again, didn't have these digestive issues, then she started having her first cycle after 3.5 years. Wow. So I always tell my patients, you know, her body wasn't making a mistake not having a cycle. Her body viewed it as, you're probably not going to live, why even bother making a baby, you know?
Yeah, or for the baby, you know, how healthy could the baby be, and that's kind of...
Yeah, so I see not a lot of women that do IVF, but I encourage them, don't force a pregnancy, because then if we have this child that was never supposed to be born walking around in the most toxic environment we know of to date is the U.S. environment, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's kind of the focus of the practice. At least here I started to see a lot of gut issues, which then turned into a lot of autoimmune issues. So the vast majority of the people I see, about 80% of my patients are autoimmune. A lot of them just don't know it yet because they're kind of the ones that have the weird symptoms, falling through the cracks, ANA is positive, then negative, you know. And then I learned about neurodevelopment just because my wife was having a child. So then it started to kind of leach in where I see a lot of kids on the spectrum now. Kind of never even told anybody we do that sort of thing because that's not something that we would market or advertise or anything like that. But that's kind of now my passion is I help these autoimmune people because there's just not a lot that conventional medicine does for them. But one of my real goals is to try to not have to see these kids. I mean, just a few weeks ago, I saw a flu vaccine damaged kid. And I love helping them, but all of me is like, why do these kids have to get sick to begin with?
Yeah.
You know?
You're like the undoctor, which, doctors want to, continue treating the same patient for years and years and years and years and years. So.
Yeah, and that's like me and Sachin and everyone on our team believe, if I have to keep seeing someone over and over and over again, we never fixed anything.
Right. You're just covering up some symptoms. How did you end up meeting Sachin?
I was going to start working at the practice he was at and just do traditional chiropractic when he was just getting into functional medicine and really wanted to start cultivating that aspect of things. But then once I learned about functional medicine, I could have cared less about low back pain and 40 times an athlete,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then after I helped my wife and me, her brother has Crohn's, and he was able to get off the Remicade and gain some weight, and his joints were hurting. Yeah, so after that point, I was like, forget low back pain. There's already good chiros and physical therapists that can handle that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so your main focus now with the clinic there in Cincinnati is what, functional medicine, obviously, but you said you work a lot with kids on the spectrum. What are some of your other focuses there?
I see some methylation issues just because, you learn it with functional medicine, you kind of have to start learning about almost everything.
Yeah, sure.
I don't do a lot of hormones to me just because I see typically hormone imbalance is secondary to something else. So usually, and we have Dr. Dyer at this location, who's a woman, so usually women like to talk about that stuff with a woman anyways.
Right.
So mainly a lot of gut issues. I truly believe if we can just fix somebody's gut and truly fix it, not just throw digestive enzymes down the hatch, or as y'all know, like with working with Ron, throw dead bacteria down the hatch and just magically hope things happen. Yeah. Fix that gut. To me, that's like the most important thing we can do for somebody.
Yeah. What
your cerebellar autoimmunity? What symptoms come of that?
It's usually like a lot of motion sickness, car sickness, things like that. So Dramamine was a very common thing that I was given as a child. But older in life, as the cerebellum starts to degrade, we start to see that cerebellar ataxia. So this is where they kind of walk like a cowboy with that widened stance because they're trying to gain their footing. But the cerebellum, as well, you talked to Titus last week or on another podcast, but the cerebellum regulates a lot of things like immune function. I mean, 90% of all information going to and from the brain from down up has to go through the cerebellum, so it's a big modulator of what gets through, what doesn't get through. So like with these autistic kids, if we see some right cerebellar issues, I would expect them to have left prefrontal cortex issues. So we start trying to get that system working again, and then we can see those nerves, hopefully if we can get metabolically, get things going again, they can start to make eye contact, be able to socialize better, all just because we're trying to work on balance.
Yeah, wow. So you said right cerebellum, left frontal cortex. Is that what it...
Yeah, so we'll do easy tests. I'm not a diplomate in functional neurology, so like this diadochokinesia, or just see if they can stand. It's amazing how many kids go to neurologists that never get a neurological exam done. They just look at the MRIs and that's it, everything's done, and they just give them a medication or something.
Yeah. What's the neurological exam actually? Is there some function involved there, some mechanics involved there?
Oh, so that's usually like pupillary reflexes. Can they hear? Can they sense? Which kind of sensations do they have? So like with PTSD through the Carrick Institute, we know that we really want to treat PTSD as a temporal lobe dysfunction, not necessarily an emotional problem. It's a physical problem that leads to emotional issues. Like Dr. Amen, they were running all these 3D SPECT scans on all these kids that shot up the schools, and they all had right temporal lobe issues, just like hardened criminals and Max that committed murder and things like that. So we see that there is damage to certain regions of the brain that just don't check kind of some of these social behaviors and things like that we would find socially acceptable.
And with your own cerebellum damage, have you noticed symptoms kind of ebb and flow? Have they gotten better since?
Mine have gotten a lot better. No more of the motion sickness. My balance has improved pretty good. I had like some mild concussions and stuff too, so it kind of, and as we all know, there's no such thing as a mild traumatic brain injury anymore. So I'm trying to do everything I can. My weak link is my brain. My nervous system is, when I'm 90, that's what's going to be what's shutting down before anything else. So doing stuff now, I jokingly say, so that way I know who I'm talking to and I'm not crapping myself whenever I'm dying. I just want a little bit of dignity.
Yeah. So what kinds of things are you doing specifically for that?
Typically, DHA, neuroexcited toxic model of death, is huge. So once the immune system gets kicked up, these neurons just keep firing. So in a good example is a kid with ADD and the red dye. We kick up the immune system, they're super excited because that glutamate just goes nuts. So we want to modulate firing, so we have to get healthy cell walls. I mean, it's not just about neurotransmitters. Can a neuron start firing when it should, and can it stop firing when it's not supposed to? So for me, I have some methylation issues. I had trouble making parts of my cell walls so we can see like phosphatidylserine is effective for me. So that's why I like looking at, genetics. We can do like a 23andMe. I get the pathway planner up from Dr. Ben Lynch, and so that way, and then look at that with the NutriVal, and we can actually see, are these genes really affecting physiology, or are we just going to chase like some CBS heterozygous mutation down a rabbit hole that doesn't lead to anything? So, yeah, and then really, the best thing for the brain is just quit pouring fuel on the fire. So like corn and wheat are extremely problematic for me, and I just choose not to eat dairy because I don't think anyone should eat dairy.
Really? What about raw? What are your thoughts on like raw grass fed?
I mean, it's better, but in the sense of everything, we're the only animals in the entire world that consume dairy after infancy, and it's not even our own species. So I just haven't found any actual data showing dairy is good for everything. I actually find the opposite, all these dead bacteria, because most people get stuff pasteurized. If I wanted to stimulate the immune system, I'd make somebody eat dead bacteria every day in a yogurt.
That seems legit, yeah.
Yeah.
So dairy for you is the number one thing for people to cut out with those kind of specific health issues, not, or do you sort of clump that together with corn and soy?
Yeah, and like me, I have a spinach aquaporin molecular mimicry. So aquaporin is part of the cell walls for sodium-potassium pumps. So through the testing, like the array 10, I was able to see I have molecular mimicry to spinach. So I encourage people, don't call food healthy. Food is nutritious. A person is healthy because of that health.
I like that.
Yeah, when I went to Isabella Wentz had a mastermind group last October that Session was at, and Dr. Karazian presented at that event and talked about a whole bunch of their newer research on molecular mimicry and cross-reactivity with a ton of different foods with different body tissues that was going to kind of shatter the whole autoimmune paleo protocol situation, because I think it was spinach that often cross-reacted. Was it with myelin? Or maybe it was made myelin antibody, or the antibodies would also target myelin. I don't remember if it was spinach, but it was something that's really common on an autoimmune protocol, like a food. And it was just crazy to see that, and that there can't be any possible way to make a one-size-fits-all autoimmune diet, because it's individual for each person. And so it's more about healing the person so that their body doesn't do that versus avoiding every food on the planet.
I wrote that down. Food isn't healthy. If food is nutritious, the person's healthy. I'm going to steal that.
Go ahead, yeah. That's why we don't want to, because dealing with a lot of autoimmune patients, when I was a neophyte and all this, we wanted to blame food. We had kind of that knee-jerk reflex of, if they're eating tomatoes, of course we're going to make the rheumatoid arthritis work, or worse. But I tell people if you're eating real, whole, nutritious food, the food shouldn't be the problem. What happens to that food once we throw it down the hatch, that's where we start to see hiccups. Are bacteria metabolizing it? Is there an immune response? Are we even digesting food? Most people can't digest food to save their life.
Mm-hmm. Literally.
Yeah.
So that's like your first thing is to cut out those foods. What else are people dealing with as far as beyond food, stress, sleep, anxiety,
Stress
work?
by far is the biggest thing. It's funny, people will blame food all day long, but I have this one lady, the only time, because we allow patients to communicate with us between visits, we want to provide that support. That's what we found actually helps people the most, is supporting somebody through this process, not just here, take this and I'll see you in 3 months or whatever. But she would only correspond with me about finances. It was always about numbers on a screen, and finally I just told her, I'm not worried about the numbers on the screen. I'm worried about the effect that your relationship with money and the power it has over you. So when I hear a woman say something like, oh, I have to go ask my husband, it's not a money issue, it's a control issue. And that negativity is just going to wreck everything, because I say, who cares if you're eating kale salad and taking all the right supplements? If you hate your job and you hate your spouse and you hate your life, you'll just get sick, yeah. So, but I find it amazing how good the body is at adapting to stress. Most people don't even realize they are stressed. The first time I did heart math, it was like 38 minutes before I could get in the green zone.
Wow.
And I thought I was relaxed,
Yeah.
So
how much of the stress that you went through with being in the military and almost being deployed and all the shots, I mean, do you feel like you suffered from some PTSD from that, and how much of that stress affected your health?
I mean, I do have some neurological dysfunction. I don't want to insult the veterans and call it PTSD, because I have friends that got shot in the face. I have friends that didn't make it. So there's always like that scale of how bad is the brain dysfunctioning. For me, it's traffic, so I get kind of anxious around a lot of traffic. So I just take the back roads. I don't drive during rush hours. So when I come visit you, Mike, I'll just, let you do all the driving. Because that was one of my triggers, because I was in a really bad car wreck. So,
oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so I'm alive because of emergency rooms. They have their place, but seeing these like kids on the spectrum and autoimmunity, their place isn't really in that system.
Yes.
My son's life was just recently saved by first responders and emergency care people. So I totally, Western medicine has its strengths, or conventional medicine, or whatever you want to call it, definitely has its strengths and its place, and that is in trauma care, emergency care. If I get hit by a car crossing the street and I got bones sticking out of my legs, no offense, but I'm not going to call you guys.
Yeah.
Juicing a carrot's not going to help that compound fracture.
Yeah. So that's a misconception I think a lot in this industry, is that all of us hate doctors, or would never go to a hospital, because you read these extreme stories of these asinine people who kill their kids because they refuse to take them to a doctor or to an emergency room or something when they're dying. And we're not fucking crazy. We would definitely it has its place for sure.
I think you could, in a compound fracture situation, wrap bacon around it though, and that would work as a good splint.
Yeah, like some par-cooked bacon for stability, like half-cooked.
Yeah.
I think the grease is like a natural salve. But yeah, man, they oh yeah, don't come here for traffic though. San Diego's not bad.
Yeah.
If you want gnarly traffic, go by Joe's house.
Yeah, where I live, and then L.A. and
L.A. Yeah, if you want to invoke a pure breakdown, L.A. would be the place.
Don't come anywhere near New York.
Yeah. No, I've been to New York once, a couple seminars up there. So yeah, usually I just go straight to the hotel. I don't try to deal with any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is weird how it's viewed as a competition between alternative medicine and allopathic medicine. And me, I just kind of think, when did the focus not be on the patient anymore?
Yeah.
I refer people back out for drugs all the time to their primaries. Will their primary, listen to me? That's debatable. Like I had a kid on the spectrum with a very aggressive candida. We could see it was Candida albicans, and he was all the way as high as it could be. And I told the mom, there's no research on a lot of herbs with a 5-year-old with candida. Let's just go get some nystatin from the pediatric GI. Anyways, he didn't write the script, so I call him, and he's like, well, getting rid of the candida is not going to cure autism. And I was just like, I didn't say that. It's just this kid has candida, and he's symptomatic. What's the deal? What? And he's like, oh, we just let candida go.
We let candida go.
Yeah, because there's...
Well, it's really up for it, but still.
Yeah. And that's really unfortunate. Like, I have some doctors here in Cincinnati, if I send them a leaky gut test, they don't think I'm chasing unicorns. They're like, oh, we should probably get right on this, They have the SIBO, and they'll write a script for rifaximin if that's what the patient wants to do. And so then I think working together works better a lot of the times. It's right. Viewed as that competition. Like, I think OBs and neuros and things are thinking, who's this chiropractor? Testing thyroid antibodies, looking at cerebellar function. Because I think we just adjust spines.
I think traditional, I shouldn't say traditional, conventional medicine is starting to come around to things like leaky gut, but you can't call it leaky gut.
Yeah. Well, once the drug is approved, I think they're like at phase 2 R&D for clinical trials. But yeah, I figure in the next few years, once that's approved, then everyone will know about leaky gut because the drug reps are telling everybody about leaky gut.
Is that the drug that Fasano is doing all that research for?
Rifaximin?
Yeah. No, it's it's an acetate. I forget the exact name of the drug. As far as I know, only about 500 people have taken it so far. So they've done these really, really small controlled trials. I just always look for longitudinal studies. Like statins, they're finding after 20 years of use, you might live 5 to 13 days longer, maybe.
5 to 13. Wow.
Yeah,
probably for good days anyway.
Yeah, but all-cause mortality was actually higher in people that took statins chronically. Yeah. So now we can see the long term of what does this do? Like the HCG diet used to be real popular among chiros a few years ago, but I never recommended it because I don't know, okay, if you're 30, what's going to happen when you're 60 and you've done this 4 or 5 times? We can't just give hormones and do these things and not expect there to be like this free lunch mentality. Oh, just because it's natural, it's not going to have any negative issues.
Sure, you're forcing the body to do something it doesn't want to do. There's going to be some rebound effect from that.
Yeah.
So I want to give folks, if someone does want to work with you, do you work with patients at distance or on Skype or anything like that, or do people need to come see you in the clinic?
Typically, seeing in the clinic is obviously best, especially for neuro. I can't do a neuro exam over Skype, but almost half of the people I see aren't here in Cincinnati. I've never met them face to face. We utilize a lot of technology, so I'll make a screen recording of the test results, send it to them, and then we'll sit down over Skype and chit-chat about it and everything.
Okay, cool.
Those are brilliant, by the way, to anyone listening to this. I wasted 8 years of seeing clients without thinking of that idea. And then I contacted Sachin to help me accelerate my learning when it came to organic acids testing, because he talks about it a lot when he was on our webinars and stuff. And I totally want to have you back to do like a content-heavy interview webinar thing when we do some autoimmune stuff or whatever you want to talk about, because the podcast is a lot more laid back and about you. But I'd love to have you back to drop some knowledge on people. That being said, I contacted him because I was learning organic acids testing, and I've learned that the fastest way to learn things is find people who are really good at it and ask them to help you. And so he put me in touch with Ricky in his office there, Ricky Brar, who we'll have on, I'm sure, too. And he made this video for me that was like 13 minutes long about one of my clients' organic acids tests. And I watched it, and my brain exploded. And not just because the information was great, because it was, and it was really concise, and he went through all the markers and what they mean and what he would recommend and whatever. But I was just like, what the hell why didn't I do this? And they're so valuable. Like, it helps so much as far as saving time, because then when you actually meet with the patient and talk to them, they could have already watched the videos. instead of spending the hour going through the test results and them having to pay you for a whole nother hour of time, of meeting time, I don't know. It blew my mind. And it's like a super simple thing that I was just like,
Yeah.
This is
Well, plus, everyone with the brain fog and everything, memory is poor, so we always tell them, you can watch it again.
Over and over. They're not scrambling to take notes while they're talking to you and then not remembering anything. They're not forgetting that they could write questions down then before they talk to you. I just want to give you guys kudos and say it blew my practitioner mind that my life could have been so much easier and my client relationships could have been so much more efficient. So, yeah, sorry to my clients, but I did share those with my clients and they loved them. So,
cool.
Yeah, we want to get a little referral network put up on our site because Joe and I don't work with clients anymore one-on-one, but we get inquiries a lot. Like, I have this problem. Do you know somebody I could see? Or do you take clients? And then I say no, and then they're like, who could I see? So we're trying to get a referral little network set up on our site that we would definitely have you guys on, as long as that's cool to have distance, people on there.
Yeah, the hardest thing is if they're international. I have some people over in Vietnam and Malaysia, so we have to have them plan trips to come see family, get the testing done, and then go back over where they're from. So
most of the people are in the U.S., but
yeah, vast majority. Those just kind of spawned from we helped people here, and they have family overseas back home that their health needs aren't being met.
Okay. So is the best way for people to find you if they want to work directly with you just to still go to becomeproof.com?
Yeah, and then they can schedule, and then they can choose, who do they want to see, when do they want to see us, things. Yeah, we've tried to automate a lot of systems. That's Sachin's motto, automate or die.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, Mike could probably learn a little bit about that.
Yeah, the first time I talked to Sachin on the phone, actually, he explained to me a lot of the automated system, his 30,000-foot overview of how his practice works and how the office works and how all these things work, and I felt like I had just gotten off the phone with a machine.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way this dude is real. But it's super efficient, and that's what he teaches now. I'm thinking he's working with Evolution of Medicine for that, how to run your practice situation. I don't know what it's called. I've seen it. Functional Forum. James runs that. And then he's working with Sachin to do some sort of practitioner. I know Sachin had a practitioner training type program, and James, I think, and him are working on making it bigger. But yeah, it's pretty impressive the efficiency and automation you guys have.
Yeah, well, that's what we figured. Because if we have to spend more time with somebody, that time is valuable. I could be helping somebody else instead of answering the same questions over and over and over.
And it drives cost up.
Yeah, and that's what we try to do. We try to lower our costs so that way we can pass it on to people. I know practitioners that charge triple per hour what we do, and I don't ever try to do this, but clinically we see a lot of very consistent good results. So I know that what we do is working, but we don't want to prescribe to that healthiest for the wealthy type mentality, because a lot of the people we see are on disability potentially because they can't work anymore. Their brain's not functioning, their legs aren't working, if they have MS or whatever. So, yeah, so we don't want to try to add financial stresses and stuff to people, because that's just going to never get them better, because then they're just going to worry about money all the time.
Right, exactly. So that's great. It's good juju you put out.
Man, you guys are doing a lot of things right over there. Kudos to your whole operation.
Yeah, no, I love the tribe. I love what you guys are doing, too. That's really awesome. So I think we're finally all functional medicine practitioners. I think we're almost reaching that critical mass of, we're out of that early adopter phase,
Right. Yeah, we should start hopefully seeing a shift where, people are like, oh, this makes so much more sense. You mean it's all connected? The gut's connected to the brain? Really?
Get out of here.
Shocking. I haven't been hearing that for the last 10 years.
Right.
It's always funny, though, when we see a headline of some kind, in the news of some discovery that doctors have made or researchers have made, and I'm just like, dude, they taught me that in my first Czech Institute program in 2009. Paul's been teaching that same thing since 1998, and they were calling him crazy. But I'm glad you finally caught up.
Yeah.
You know, it's not bad. Like, it's like still good to see when it happens, but it's just like, you know, it's like we're progressing at the slowest rate possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
we're
frustrating.
not.
We're not. They are, but
Yeah.
it's just funny to me, and they'll play it off like it's some massive breakthrough discovery that no one had known or thought of before. And sometimes it's stuff that's been in traditional medicine for like 3,000 years.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. You know, that's why I think the term alternative is funny. I think alternative to what, maybe a century versus
Yeah.
5,000 years.
Yeah, right.
Like, not Titus, but I met another guy at an Apex seminar, and he was like a 13th generation Chinese medicine. I mean, this guy, just from the knowledge that was passed down, it was so insane. And the fact that now we can just start to look at that stuff through maybe some of these functional tests and things like that to actually validify and verify, like, they were right all along, you know.
Oh, that's amazing. Good
13th
stuff.
generation would be a big brain filled with lots of knowledge, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool. I have a Chinese medicine guy here in Ocean Beach. He's Chinese medicine, acupuncture, the whole 9 yards. He goes to Asia all the time. He's a young guy, though. He can't be older than 30. And he's super impressive, though. Every time I talk to him, I'm just blown away by the stuff he throws out there. And then explains, because he studies it from a Western perspective, too. So, like, he did moxibustion on me. Like, for those who don't know, moxibustion's, well, it can be done different ways. But he was doing it at the end of the acupuncture needles. It's almost like a little bit of incense, kind of. It's mugwort, I believe, is what it actually is, and they burn it. And it's at the end of the needle that's obviously not in your body. And it fixed my shoulder. Like, my shoulder pain that wouldn't go away was like 90% gone after one treatment. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I trust you. Like, this is cool. Do you know how that works? Or what it? And he goes, yeah, it actually is very similar to infrared treatments, like infrared sauna, and that the moxibustion does like little bits of infrared treatment, and they go all over, and so it's like very localized infrared treatments, which we know like infrared saunas and near and far infrared has, you know, healing processes, improves or speeds up protein synthesis, does like a bunch of things that we now know from studying infrared. They did that before infrared was even a thing, or that we knew of, you know, thousands of years ago. But he's cool because he learns the
mechanisms behind it
from a, I don't even want to, modern science or whatever point of view. But it's so cool to watch some of this stuff get validated. And I don't want to use the word validated, but what did you say? Verified? Verified's probably a better word, because validated makes it seem like it's not valid if we can't prove it. But it's really cool to see that. That's always awesome to see. And like acupuncture point channels being visible on certain spectrals of camera and.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen on functional MRIs, you know, in the sensory lobe, they do acupuncture for carpal tunnel, and the brain no longer has, you know, those hot spots. It's really incredible how, we can. Because people are like, oh, acupuncture don't work, and I'm like, well, we can see the brain is changing its function based on activation of certain meridians and points. Like, you know, I can't placebo my pineal gland to start functioning better.
Yeah, right. Amazing. Good
And
stuff.
then there's that argument too, like, oh, it's a placebo. I don't give a shit what it is. My shoulder didn't hurt anymore. So you know, call it whatever you want.
What's that saying when the placebo effect works? Like, what's that really saying? Think about
saying we should study that.
Yeah, let's study that. Let's study why the brain is fixing your shoulder.
And how to get it to fix the shoulder like more, like how to, you know, even if, you know, things that are placebo. They'll throw it, oh, that's placebo, and I'm like, great, cool, let's figure out why the hell our brain fixes our liver and how it does it and how to make it do it when we want it to do it.
Yeah, I'll have to send y'all the study, but it blew my mind. They had two classes of people. These people actually had both people had degenerative knee pain on MRI. The one group, they did the surgeries and scopes. Yeah, but then they did the sham and they didn't do anything, but they told them they did, and then they followed up years later on MRI. The sham group actually saw tissue healing just by that thought process of, oh, my knee is better. And so we reversed it on imaging. It was really crazy. I mean, and at that point, it's just kind of like, you know, that's why we only work with clients that have that belief that their body's going to work, because I see these pessimists like, oh, I guess I'll just try to change my diet. And I'm like, that's not the attitude. Your brain's not going to reinforce what we're doing, and we're just not going to get the effects we're after.
Right. So important to be in the right mindset to try anything. Awesome stuff. Jared, thank you so much. This was a great conversation. We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, this was a pleasure. I definitely look forward to chit-chatting with you guys more.
Yeah,
man, we'll let you come on and unleash some of your caged knowledge that we kind of held back a little on today. We'd love to have you back for an interview, webinar, all kinds of educational stuff, and I encourage people to check out what they're doing there at Become Proof. Is it becomeproof.com or .org? .com. Go there, check that out. It's awesome stuff. They provide a ton of free, great information too, and the thing behind you on the wall, that was on the website the first time I went to the website, and I stole it and posted it on Facebook and thought maybe I should ask this guy if I can use his picture, and that's how I first reached out to Sashin. I was like, hey man, awesome stuff you post on Facebook. I stole your picture from there on your website because it's like the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then he scheduled a phone call with me and spent an hour on the phone, like just talking to me about whatever. And it's really cool what you guys are doing, what he's building there, what you guys are doing as the team. It's definitely right up there with my favorite of all the people that we work with in the organizations and the offices or whatever you want to call it. What you guys are doing with Living Proof is like the coolest stuff out there. So I encourage people highly to check out what they're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Cool. All right, good stuff. Thanks, Jared. We'll talk to you soon.
Take it easy, guys. See you.
Peace.